Hi guys!
Welcome to another project review. I'm Sherry here.
I'm Jay.
During this period of time, there will be a lot of new launches coming up, which is quite fast and furious. If you notice, a lot of them are from central area. And it comes to the point that the price here are very close to the property in RCR and OCR. So it's best that you can actually know about the products here. You might even get a better deal in this area compared to the RCR or even OCR areas.
Okay, so this video, right, is also for a separate group of people who right, also don't want to stay in other areas one. So basically, you want to stay in town, but actually you are not sure how to choose the projects here also. This is a simple analogy of the properties. Don't flame me,
Okay, what car will you choose, Jay?
Obviously, I'll choose the one on the right, correct? But when I buy this kind of cars, right, okay, if we relate to property, right, actually, I'm quite scared that these cars also quite hard to sell next time. But today, right, okay, the prices of all these other properties, right, have gone up so much. So let me just give you an analogy. This one is OCR. It's just an analogy. RCR and then CCR. Okay, so last time this one don't really make money, and then as a result, it's also hard to sell. But we also need to understand why last time it's like that. Okay, one of the main reasons why here didn't make much money is because their entry price compared to here and here is already very high. Okay, but nowadays, right, increasingly we are seeing the prices of here, right, the price can be very, very close to here already. So I give you an example. For example, here you got Mercedes E-Class. Okay, the price is very, very close to this area here. Then here, right, normally the price is this level Suddenly maybe they release a model, for example maybe Macan. Then this one is 4 seats SUV, and the price, right, is very, very close together with this So in this case, how should you choose? Because now you may feel that the Merc is actually getting quite expensive, and then at the same time you're also curious about what is this kind of new product coming out in the central area, which we really don't see before, especially in the Orchard Zone area. So these are some of the things that you maybe have in mind when you're considering buying here. And if you're the kind of person, BMW also cannot, Merc also cannot, you need all these brands then you should really watch this video, because from here we will guide you on how to choose the units in Upperhouse.
So for Upperhouse is in Orchard area, and I think Orchard Road does not need a lot of introduction, but we have a head to tail from Orchard Road. Let's share it more later. So at the Orchard head surrounding area, we have Australia High Commission, US Embassy, British High Commissions are around this area. So we are also within close proximity areas of the GCB's areas. We have all these areas here. As well as we also have this Botanic Garden and Dempsey area.
So I'll just touch on about the head and the tail, which I was talking about, right? So this whole area circled here in red is Orchard Road. Okay, so for me, I divide this into the head, the body, and the tail. Okay, so I make it like a dragon, 一条龙 over here. You can see from here, right? Let's say for example, the head area, Orchard Head, this is where Upperhouse is. So within 600 meters, right, there are actually about 37 projects, as we can see here. Number of units, 3,001. That means the average number of units per project is only about 84. And over here, right, the highest unit count in terms of the project is actually Spring Grove, around 300 units. And the smallest project here is actually at 8 Nasim, which is 16 units. When we come on to the body, right, so when you go to the head to the body, right, the body a bit fatter okay? So over here, we can see more number of units here at 4,007. But average number of units is still slightly higher, but it's still not a lot. Why? Because let's say if you go to the OCR areas or even RCR areas, right, potentially average unit per project can be about 300 to 500. Over here, if it's like below 100, it means that your chance to stay here is actually not very high, and it also depends on the price that you can enter in the Orchard area. Even the biggest unit count here we have is Scott Square, 338 units. Then when we come to the tail, right, actually honestly, right, before I do all these calculations, right, I thought the tail will have a lot of units because they have a lot of properties, especially in the Dhoby Ghaut area behind. But I forget that they are not high rise, they are not very tall. So end up when I do the calculations in terms of the number of units, right, actually the tail, right, also very slim. So the number of units here is actually very, very close to the head, which is about below 90 units per project. The reason why we are doing all this calculation, right, is because when we want to so-called gauge a project, whether it's big or small, we have to gauge whether this project in this area, whether it's big or not. Because some other areas, maybe 500 units, 400 units, not considered a lot. Because why? Nearby you got 1,000 over units, 2,000 units project. So the 400 units will look very small. But now what I'm trying to tell you here is that the average project size here is only about 100. If let's say Upperhouse is 300 units, is it a considerable size over in this area or not?
So the developer for this project is UOL and Singland. They have collaborated many times, and these are the projects they have done, which is High Tree Hill, Amor, and Principal Garden. Fun fact that UOL also developed hotels such as Park Royal Collections at Marina and Pan Pacific Orchard.
Hey, this place very nice. I remember every time I drive past, especially at the Marina Bay Park Royal, right? Architecture is very nice lah. Then I think quite nice to take picture lah. You got go there and take picture one.
I agree with you. Actually, when I was looking at for my wedding venue, actually I went there also. It's really, really very well, nicely done. For Park Royal, Marina Bay, and the newly built Pan Pac are extremely stand out. We show you that the developer actually got liao one lah.
And also, right, usually for UOL, their landscaping and their building facade are mostly stand out in the area, and their layout is usually very, very nice. So this is something that I will feel that they will carry over to Upperhouse. Okay, so why Upperhouse, right? It's not why buy Upperhouse lah, but why the name is Upperhouse. Upperhouse is actually part of their house series collection. The first one is over at Mayor Road, which is a Mayor House. This one is located in District 15. Back then when they launched, right, I think even now also lah, it's really one of the kind in a way that they design the layout and the luxury of this condo, right? I mean, it got called the Nassim of the East. And most recently, we also have Watton House, which is in District 11. Despite this high price tag, right, and this condo is actually located in the landed housing estate, you will be surprised, the 4 bedrooms here, expensive condo, right, sometimes can be even more expensive than the landed, but yet their 4 bedroom actually sold the fastest for this project. Now, coming to Upperhouse, this is actually their third piece in this house collection series.
This is the project details we have for Upperhouse. If you can see, this is our address, 22 Orchard Boulevard. We have 301 units here. Expected date of the possession is 30 June 2029. And this is a 35 stories apartment. For the car park lots, we have 241 residents car park lots. 31 of them are for the 4 beders, meaning that the car park lot might have their unit number as well. So for unit mix, we actually have 1 bedder to 4 bedder, and 1 bedder itself at 22%, and 2 bedders have 33%, including the study 22%, and 3 bedder have 11%, 4 bedder will have 10%. And I like it because there isn't much of the 1 bedders for this project itself.
Basically, like almost half of the project is 2 bedrooms, and then the balance, right, they split between the 1 bedroom plus study and the 3 and 4 bedrooms. I think we both agree that this is a very good unit mix to have in this area. This is the site context. Upperhouse, right, is located just right in front of the MRT station over here. But it won't be so noisy because the MRT is actually underground. As part of the land purchased by UOL when they buy this piece of land, right, they are actually required to build a park over here. This one can actually become like an extra playground outside the condo lah. Also, right, at this site behind the MRT, there will be some shops over here that is out of the condo and located in basement 2. So basement 2 level actually is the road level here, and it's actually separate away from the landscape deck over here at level 1 lah. So it's 2 different levels, and the shops will be outside of the condo itself. Just to give you some quick orientation, right? This area, let's say if you walk down the street here, it will be towards Tanglin Mall. And then the drive-in from the road into the condo will be via Orchard Boulevard. That's why the address is 22 Orchard Boulevard. Also, basically how you come home is that you will drive down this street, you make a left, and then this is actually the driveway that actually leads to your condo. So your condo entrance will not be directly at the main road, because sometimes you might have to queue to drive into the condo ma. And I think this is a very nice touch in the sense that the entrance is actually quite far away, so it allows for waiting and it will not cause congestion for the car. How it will look like later will have some perspectives of this place itself. When I walked past the actual site, right, I actually saw this MRT building in front, and I was quite concerned that, because this MRT building is quite tall, you see. So if the unit starts from, let's say, level 1 or 2, potentially it might be blocked. But when we refer to the architectural plans here, firstly, right, you can see that at road level, Orchard Boulevard, from the road level to the landscape deck, which is the pool level over here, level 1, is already 6.6 meters. Effectively, right, this is already 2 stories taller than compared to the road level. Secondly, from the landscape deck, which is the pool level, my next unit up, which is the first unit on the 2nd floor, the height between the landscape deck and the 2nd floor is actually 13.3 meters. Let's say when I add up the two from the landscape deck to the so-called the second level for the first unit, right? All in all, the total height over here is about 19 meters. Means, right, it's about 6 stories tall. So the second floor compared to the road level is about 6 stories tall. And then when we look a bit closer, right, they actually have the facade of the MRT here, pink color. Effectively, from the second floor, right, you already clear the MRT station. But of course, if you don't want to look at the roof of the MRT station, maybe you can buy about 5 to 6 floors. Okay, and coming back to this side, right, the way that they orientate their blocks, their building, right, and design is actually to allow good airflow in this aspect. For the landscaping here in the park, right, they have mentioned that they will actually so-called design the park landscaping together with the condo landscaping quite uniformly to blend in nicely.
As you can see here on the left hand side, this is our facade of the building and it looks very nice and modern. For the bottom photo here, this is the driveway through into the condo itself, and take note that this level is at basement 1. And on the photo on the right hand side, so this is the landscape photos of the pool deck view, and this is at level 1. Here is the side map of the place. If you can see, we already seen some perspective of the pool areas and the drive-in area. Over at this part here, this is part D, we have a side gate at basement 2 that actually leads you to the shops, and the MRT entrance is fully sheltered. There's also one more side gate here in IO as well. To the left hand side here, we actually have the gym area. You can overlook down into the park. And the back side of this side plan, we also have the Gourmet BBQ, leisure pool, and a play pool here. Actually, that's not all. If you can see this entire side plan, it actually looks like a fish shape. And the fish tail here, there is something very special. We call it the Botanical Villa. And just now we saw that we have a lot of pool here. Actually, we have even more over this part.
So this Botanical Villa is like a spa sanctuary just for this condo itself. It's actually located at the back on its own, away from the facilities. There will be a bridge that crosses over to the Botanical Villa, and when you cross over to here, when you enter here, right, there will be lockers here where you can safe keep your things. To warm things up, right, you can actually chill here at the hydro pool, which is here, and this is how it looks like over here. They will have massage jets inside, and if you want more, right, there are 2 rooms over here. There are 2 indoor spas. Inside we have a steam room and an indoor pool, which, if I'm not wrong, should be heated. So it's very, very nice, and we get 2 of these rooms, so it will basically look like this here. Okay, it's something very quiet and very private. And lastly, right, there's also a private massage spa room over here with its own changing room. I've been to a few condos with, like, they have like the outdoor open air massage, right? But because it's open air, so the maintenance is not very good. When I walk past these massage chairs, basically, it's very dusty when it comes to all these private massage areas. But for this Upperhouse, right, I think very important thing here is that their spa sanctuary, for most part of it, is actually sheltered and enclosed, which will help to look this place looks very nice even after a few years. This is how the Botanical Villa looks like from the outside. This entire Botanical Villa is about 320 square meters, and that means that it's about 3,400 square feet in size, which is considered very, very sizable for something like that. My house also not this big.
So here, let's talk about the facility. On the left hand side, we actually can see the gym from the pool side. And then for the right hand side, you can see here is the function room. And on the bottom here, we have a resident concierge lounge close to the drop-off area, which is very nice hall. And lastly, here is our leisure pool that overlook our BBQ pit.
Hey Sherry, why the view is like that so nice? I thought this one is on the first floor.
So this is on the first floor of the condo, but in fact it's already on the 3rd floor. And this also look up to the Chatsworth 2-story GCB area.
Oh, actually, low floor unblocked view in town is really quite hard to get.
True enough. Here are some of the views expected from Upperhouse. There will be also buildings from the top and the bottom of the sides. So they have oriented in such a way to maximize good views.
One thing you need to take note for this project, right? I think the developer is very nice lah. Actually, this orientation is very, very north-south already. It's just that it's tilted to the west a little bit so that we can maximize the views for this project. But yet, right, the developer actually provides the screen shade against this west sun. I feel it's actually attention to detail. These are the visual screens that they will have, and as mentioned, right, the west side will most likely be here, coming this side. They actually install the visual screens for them for parts of the house that is facing west, because the unit is mainly north-south facing. So what they do here is that they install some visual screens here. This is actually on the behind part of BPS2, which is the 2+ study. It's not even the front of the unit. They also provide these screens over here in the balcony so that the hot sun does not go into the balcony itself. It actually makes your balcony more usable in the daytime as well. And not only that, to the back, let's say to the kitchen side, this is the kitchen of the units, and even for the main lobby, right, they also install this. To be honest, right, I've seen so many projects that are north-south facing. I haven't even seen any that actually install this kind of fins over here. To be honest, it's actually quite unnecessary. But the reason why they do all these things is just to add a lot of all these details to make this place a very nice place to live in. Also, right, this location, right, is a very sensitive area with political people around. There will be fins located at the units as well towards the northern direction. But not to worry, because all these fins that we can see here, right, the red color ones, all these, right, are actually applicable for floor level that is from 28 to 35th floor. If you want to buy a high floor unit but you don't want all these fins inside, right, you still can get above 20th floor, because some of the projects, once they reach like 15 stories, straight away they have the fins come out. This one I feel is not too bad, because you still can buy units above 20th floor without the fin.
For Upperhouse Orchard, we have 2 collections here. The signature collection from 1-bedder plus study to 3-bedder. Later we will elaborate more about their finishings. So let's dive into our 1-bedder plus study. You can see the layout is at 474 square feet. If you look into it, we have a proper study area, and also we have a proper master bedroom, dining area and a living area. I think this is a very typical 1-bedder layout we see in the market. For the finishing, we'll be using our natural marbles from Turkey for living hall area and dining area, and of course the bathroom. The rooms will be engineered timber flooring and skirting as well.
Hey Sherry, the facing, right, for this unit, maybe it will be blocked. How?
Okay, later we analyze a bit more about this.
Okay.
Alright, let's go through the 1-bedroom comparison layout across the different newer projects in this facility.
My favorite 1-bedroom layout is at Grange YA66. The bedroom space here I feel is just right now. It's very comfortable, and if you have been to the show flat, right, I actually like the toilet a lot. The way they design it is very nice, and they even have window. But to be fair, right, the rest of the unit feels a bit tight. I probably have to end up eating dinner at the place where I sit down in my sofa because there isn't much room for a proper dining setup. Furthermore, this is actually a very small project. The only thing I really like about this layout is this bedroom and the toilet But this is just the layout itself. But if let's say we compare with the overall project, right, this may not be my top choice if I add everything in together What about you, Sherry?
In terms of the location, right, I will pick Nasim any day. The prestige and the quietness of the surrounding and the proximity to Botanic Gardens is just very hard to beat.
When it comes down to the Orchard area, I don't really want to compare old projects with the newer ones because the products are really very different. And for here, I don't want to focus too much on profit. I want to see how did the units move when they start to sell from the developer. Actually, let's take it as a test. For example, here, right, we have 3 Cascaden. They took 2 years and 3 months to sell their 1-bedroom. When they start to sell their 1-bedroom from the developer, right, the higher floor, the unblocked view, right, they actually sold faster compared to the block view. And in fact, right, for this unit, the block view sold for lower price, but they sell later. That means people actually pay more to buy the unblocked view first. Usually when it comes to this kind of stats, we will think that, if it's buying from top down, is it because of own stay or not? Because when I stay inside the house, I probably want to have a good view for this unit and I don't mind to pay a bit more. Over here, actually, right, based on the sales, we actually guess that, this could potentially be something that people buy for own stay. But whether is it true or not, later we will find out. And followed by these 3 projects over here. It's a very funny thing, Sherry. When they started selling, right, 没有 show flat.
No show flat. How to sell?
Yeah. That's why the sales didn't move so well that time. And I actually so-called changed the time taken. This time I start counting from is actually upon their TOP or when they start to really build a show flat. For example, like for Grange YA66, right, their show flat opened about in mid-2023. Now it's coming 2 years already. For this project, for the 1-bedroom, the mid-floor moved first. To be honest, for myself, right, I don't know what is the behavior but what about you, Sherry? What are your thoughts?
I feel mid-floor should be own stay
Oh, why
They want the view more on the view rather than I get a low floor without any views.
Oh, then maybe I also don't want to pay so much because maybe the mid-floor and the high-floor view not so much different.
Yeah, so likely I think it's for own stay.
Okay, So we can actually put in here. And then for 19 Nasim, once they TOP, right? Okay, it's coming to 1+ years. Actually, they don't have much units left already lah. But over here, the bigger 1-bedroom units move faster. So for me, I will assume that, hey, given a choice of big 1-bedroom and small 1-bedroom, if I pick the bigger 1-bedroom, then most likely I will want to stay inside there one lah. So I put in over here as own stay. Again, later we'll check the results. As well as for Cascaden Reserve, last year when they TOP, right, and then when they have the news of the so-called ABSD sales on all this, their project actually sold out in just 1 year and 1 month lah. For this project, the low floor move first. So let us see over at the next slide, right? How did they actually perform in terms of like, you know, our expectation and actually whether they really ran out or not lah. Just now we saw that 3 Cascaden, they actually sold from top to down ma, and then the most expensive one actually sell first. So naturally, just now we mentioned we think that it's for own stay, but when we come and track the rentals, right, it is about 86% tenanted. So actually we cannot really judge the initial sales from the actual final usage of the unit leh. Similarly for Cascaden Reserve, right, they sold from low floor to higher floor ma, for their 1-bedroom. But yet, less than 50% of the units are actually rented out, meaning that actually it's more for their own use. And when it comes to projects like, let's say, Cascaden Reserve and 19 Nasim, right, I would say that they are more suitable for own stay, especially if you are looking for 1-bedroom and 1+ study layouts lah. Why? Because they are new, they are more of like a designer style apartments and likely to have better finishings and quality, which adds to their own stay appeal. One trend that we are seeing more now in this area, right, is that the 1-bedroom now comes with a study area. Like for example, these two that we can see here in 19 Nasim and Cascaden Reserve.
It's a smart use of space. In this way, your living room stays more uncluttered.
Actually, right, how to choose a 1-bedroom here, right? You see the rental use, right, are actually higher in Cascaden Reserve and 19 Nasim. But why the higher price unit, right, the rental yield is actually higher? So over here, right, it's actually opposite 倒反 one. Normally when we buy 1-bedroom, right, we see the most efficient layout that is the smallest and cheapest, so that it can give us the best yield, correct? But for here, right, to choose the 1-bedder layout that gives the best rental yield, right, actually we have to think it in a reverse way. In a way like, hey, let's say if I buy this unit 1-bedroom here, right, I want to buy for own stay one. Then if I use this approach, right, actually my rental yield will be higher instead. So it's very strange here. You can see, right, 19 Nasim, the 500 square feet, right, is cheaper than the 600 square feet, cheaper by almost 60,000. But why the rent, right, is so much cheaper than the bigger 1+ study over there?
How come?
Because, right, the rental profile here, right, they also treat this unit like own stay one. So they are actually willing to pay more for this bigger layout because they feel that, hey, I really can stay in this 1+ study layout. So just now as we mentioned, right, nowadays what we see in the market is, you know, probably it's better to have a study room so that we can keep the living room very neat, and then at the same time try to find a squarish layout lah.
Okay, so now let's talk about the rental performance. Assuming that it is about $10 per square foot, if you can see the others also have roughly about the same, it's actually accepted lah. So we are looking roughly about 4,740 per month, which is already accepted in this area, meaning to say that it's a very safe rental amount that we are talking about, in the fact that we actually can push higher due to the quantum. What is even better is the rental here is among one of the highest compared to the similar project. So from investment point of view, this stands out. Okay, so some people might be concerned about the block view for Upperhouse, but actually for Cascaden Reserve and 19 Nasim, they also have block view.
Hey Sherry, you know, right, the 19 Nasim, the 1+ study, right, face out, right, is see what one.
See what actually?
Actually, right, we face the 国际刑警 because I went to see the show flat before. So when you look out, right, it's actually red and blue color, quite obiang one lah.
Okay.
But I think people here, right, they actually value the quietness more than the facing, especially for the 1+ study. With that being said, even though for Upperhouse is blocked, right, it's still quite away from the road, and I think that it won't be so noisy as well lah.
Okay, but if you don't want to wait so long for the TOP and you want to find something that immediately move in, we actually still have 1-bedder and 1+ study available in 19 Nasim. So you know who to call, So here is the 1-bedroom data surrounding Upperhouse, which is the dragon head that we actually talking about earlier. Here you can see we currently have 57 units that are selling right now, and 45 of them actually come from the balanced development unit at 19 Nasim. So if you minus away these 45 units, right, actually we only have 12 units listings here for sale. And take note that the 1-bedder sold here averagely is around $2 million. So for the leasehold project, we want to focus mainly on the quantum. Even a 3004 PSF quantum is only at 1.6 million. And the layout is livable like what we have discussed just now.
Hey Sherry, if the price here even lower than 1.6 million, how? Let's say if it's about 1.5 million.
Grab lah, so cheap. Now already last done is 2 million eh. Now let's dive into our two-bedder. There's two main facing for this unit, one facing the pool and another one actually facing the range. This is our two-bedroom dumbbell layout. If you can see, it's actually quite typical layout. We have this natural walkway here, and the good part is we have an enclosed kitchen, a dining area tucked at this corner here, two bedrooms at the corner. Please take note about your master room is a full height window because this is an RC latch and not an aircon latch. So from what I can see here, developer likely will load the premium on the stack 7 here, which is probably we have a better orientation or the view.
So now for the BP2 layout, which is the 2-bed 2-bath as well, actually the layout is super similar lah. It's just that it's a flip image of the previous layout. But over here, there's a slight west facing for some of the stacks, which is in stack 8. So developer thoughtfully has so-called added these screens over at the balcony side to help to block out the west sun into the balcony. And I think that has also helped to provide a little bit more privacy, which is a very nice touch for this unit.
These are the two-bedder units in this area. Jay, how ah?
We see all this layout, right? The concept is about 80% similar lah. Okay, it's just for example, let's say we talk about Cascaden Reserve. There is no enclosed kitchen over here. This one is open concept kitchen. And most of them, right, they are not dumbbell layout. That means they are more of like the regular layouts like we see here. You know, we have the master room beside the bedroom 2. Same goes for 19 Nassim. Okay, but this one, is it really important or not? We will find out more in the next slide. Yeah? This is the sales data that was from the developer sales last time. You can see that for the 2 bedrooms, right, like for example 3 Cascaden again, last time, right, it actually takes a longer time to clear the 2 bedrooms. In this case, it actually takes 3 years, 3 months to clear. But now, right, actually the time taken to clear the 2 bedders are actually much faster already. One reason could be because of the price gap. Because back then when 3 Cascaden launched, maybe the price can be much higher compared to RCR or even OCR. Because at that timing, right, also not much supply ma. So I think that it could be the price gap lah between this price over here in 3 Cascaden versus the units over at the RCR or even OCR lah. If you haven't been monitoring the CCR market, right, actually when you see the later launches, right, like here we see 1 Draycourt, 19 Nassim, Cascaden Reserve, right? Once they TOP or once they make their show flat, right, the units actually start to clear out very fast lah. And the exception is, let's say if like, for example, Grange Y866 is just at 1 or 2 bedders, and then the land size, the facilities, maybe is considered small here, right? Then maybe it will take a slightly longer time to sell the units because all these we see, they clear in about 1 year, 1.5 years. Okay, it's just that for the smaller projects, as I mentioned, with a smaller unit mix and so-called smaller land size, right, they generally take a longer time to sell over in this area. So from here, right, this slide that we can see here, right, okay, based on the percentage rented for the 2 bedrooms, it's quite clear in Orchard area, right, almost 90% of the 2 bedders are actually own stay one. And you can see, just like the 1 bedroom, right, the best own stay layout will actually give you the best rental yield. And the worst own stay layout will give you the worst rental yield.
1 Draycourt.
Yes, so when we talk about the worst own stay layout first, right, okay, let's talk about maybe 1 Draycourt and even the 19 Nassim 109 square feet lah.
So I think when it comes to a 2 bedroom, the unit really matters on the layout efficiency. If you take a look at this 1 Draycourt, honestly, this is one of the worst layout that we actually seen before. The rental demand there are also weak and the lack of facility doesn't even help. What we can see here, we have this private lift over here, and then I think the layout a bit odd shape lah. There's weird odd shape over here. And people sometimes is very excited over things like we have a private lift in a 2-bedder, but let's be real, that is not the most important features for the unit itself. So same goes to the closed kitchen. For most people, having functional room is more crucial. And when you can see Cascaden Reserve also do not have any enclosed kitchen, but it still does well. Plus many of the stacks in 1 Draycourt actually facing the construction site. So if you are considering for your own stay, right, it's something that you really need to think twice. For 19 Nassim itself, this is the 1109 square feet. It sounds very generous, but if you can look at the layout itself, actually we have a lot of wasted space lah, like this area here.
Very big.
So if you break it down, that the efficiency is actually not there. As we have stressed, right, for the 2-bedroom units, having an efficient layout is key. It's not about the size, it's more about it's livable. For Cascade Reserve, we actually have an open concept kitchen here that appeals more to the tenants than the owner occupied. That's why we can see a better rental performance, but it might not be the most ideal for the locals' own stay. For 19 Nassim itself, on the other hand, it feels like a home. So we actually have the landscape living and dining layout, which is very rare in this area. Not only that, we have this walk-in wardrobe in the master. It's also very rare touch in a 2-bedder. So you actually pay 500k more compared to the smaller layout here, but the rental yield is also higher. And the layout also support a longer term of own stay comfort.
So here's the irony, the most livable layouts, they are often built with an own stay concept. Very high chance the price is higher. But when you look at it from a numbers point of view, again it's like the 1-bedroom. It doesn't always make sense for investment when you look at the numbers. If you are choosing a 2-bedroom unit, right, you really need to be very clear that, this one is for own stay or this one is for rental one.
So verdict, for own stay, right, I will actually go with 19 Nassim, but for the rental, something like Cascadia Reserve might be a smarter play.
So coming back to Upperhouse Orchard, right, even at this price, the overall quantum, this price of 2.38, right, this quantum can even be lower than Grange 166. But I feel that this layout is also quite suitable for own stay because here we have the, if you, let's say you compare with Cascaden Reserve, they don't have the enclosed kitchen. But over at Upperhouse Orchard, we actually have the enclosed kitchen, and they also try to make it efficient by having a dumbbell layout. If you look carefully, actually Cascaden Reserve also is dumbbell layout. Okay, it's just that they have a landscape living dining. So with this price at 2.38, right, the overall quantum can still be lower than Grange 1866, but yet this one is nearer to the MRTs and the malls. Within 600 meters of Upperhouse, let's say if we look at the 2-bedrooms transaction over here, basically the average quantum that is being done, in fact there's 94 in the past 1 year, the average done is already 3.3 million. It means that this price average, there's already 94 of these transactions done last year. And in terms of the number of listings, right, we have 125 listings. But when we take a closer look at so-called the listings in the market, right, actually a lot of them come from 19 Nassim. You have 32 listings here, and as well as Boulevard 88, they have 29 listings. So all these are actually usually from developer. So if I exclude them away, typically I'm left with half, with about 64 listings. So you can see here, 64 listings, 94 sold. That shows that actually even for 2-bedrooms, maybe the supply here can be absorbed quite easily. Just now we also saw, right, it takes about 1+ year to just clear the stock in this area only. So if you can get something at, let's say, 2.38 million, firstly it's already below the quantum, and then the rental yield here, because of the size, right, the rental maybe is around 6,000 plus, which a price that is already accepted in this area.
Okay, so now let's dive into our 2-bed plus study. This is the picture that look like the show flat. Let's go through the layout for these 2 plus studies, 764 square feet. This layout is actually quite privacy. We have a study area here. We also have an aircon, which you actually can change it to your walk-in wardrobe. Of course, all the bathroom, we have windows over here, natural ventilation. For the kitchen top, we have the sintered stone from Spain, same for the 3 bedrooms.
Actually for this layout, I quite like because firstly, right, from here when I open the door, I cannot see the living dining, so already got privacy. Second, right, let's say if I never wear t-shirt, I just wear my pants, I go to the kitchen, right, then when I do washing or cleaning, right, people cannot see me from outside because they got the visual screens here. Maybe I don't wear clothes also can. And then for the balcony, they also have the visual screens over here to protect me from the west sun. So overall, for this layout, even you get the windows like you mentioned just now all around, in the study, in the bathrooms, and then in even the master bedroom, there's one more window over here. I feel that this can appeal to a lot of different kind of people, be it own stay or investment.
So for the other layout, same thing is 764 square feet. Our master room actually have the extra window as what they mentioned earlier. Furthermore, this is the rarest facing in the development as it's facing the east side. Most of them are mainly north-south facing. The difference for this unit, I think, is the walkway. It's a little bit longer, and then you also same thing have the privacy. Like what Jay said, if you just wear your pants, you walk around, you still have the privacy there. Now we look at the surrounding 2+ study in this area. If you can see, wow, Jay, Park Nova. Really very huge eh.
Wow, 1,004 square feet. This one, I think 4 bedrooms in OCR also don't have this size.
Yeah, when having the first look, right, I actually like this unit a lot. But when I see it's a 1,004 square feet, the quantum might be quite high lah, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, so but for all this layout here, we think that 19 Nassim will have the more efficient layout here. If you can see, we also have this tuck-in kitchen, a study, and 2 bedrooms here, and then of course the bathroom. So I think this is a very efficient and typical layout we have. I will prefer the 19 Nassim layout at this 2+ study. Let's dive into the numbers to see their performance.
Firstly, Boulevard 88 is coming to their 6 years already since the launch. Right now, they still have balanced 2+ study units, around 1,003 square feet.
Hey, Jay, 6 years. They don't have ABSD, meh?
Actually, before I studied this project, I also didn't know. But I found out, right, and this is a fun fact, actually their land, right, over for Boulevard 88, is actually zoned under this blue color site. So if I'm not wrong, land zone as this color, right, they are actually considered commercial also. Thanks to the hotel, because under Boulevard 88 there's a first edition hotel over there. With this kind of land, right, interestingly, they do not incur ABSD. They don't have to sell their units within 5 years if I'm not wrong lah. And it's not only for these projects, there are some projects in the market also like that. For example, TMW, Maxwell, and a couple more. But if you think that some projects are reaching 5 years, gonna give discount, that might not be the case. We actually have to check the land use for the project itself before we determine whether they actually have the ABSD fire sales lah. Okay, so at this kind of price point, right, when we're talking about 3-4 million above for, let's say, a 2+ study, the higher price point, the higher net worth buyers, they see the value in this in terms of the finishings and the location, and they don't mind the high price quantum if it means that the layout is really solid, the quality is really good. And when you pair it together with prestigious address, right, generally they are willing to pay for this kind of properties. Now we look at the actual performance when, after they TOP. We can see here, wow, the rental for Boulevard 88 is so high, 11,000 It's just a 2+ study. Actually, based on 4 million, right, because this one is 4.87 can we find something that have a higher rental or not for 4 million? Because you see, like, a landed for 4 million, right, how to even get a 11,000 rental?
Yes, for landed it's like that, but for condo, there are some places we actually can get 10,000 rental for about 3.5 million range or so leh.
Wow, where
I'm not gonna tell you. You engage me then I teach you.
When it comes to the Upperhouse 2+ study, right, I think I will treat this like a proper 2-bedroom unit. Why do I say so, right? Let's say if I had joined this study together with my master bedroom, I can also do it for the other layout. Then I get a very spacious master bedroom if I don't hack away the study. I feel that this is what really makes the unit stand out a lot against the other 2-bedders. And not only that, as you mentioned just now, every bathroom here have windows. Even the master bedroom, the kitchen, there's extra windows over there. If you compare with the other typical 2-bed, 2-bath layouts in this area, right, this layout actually perform in so much better ways. For own stay, the layout is very suitable. It ticks a lot of boxes. You have good ventilation, you have natural lighting, you have the flexible study space here and unblocked views of the property as well. So at this price point that you can get, right, there's a chance that this unit here can be super close price to, for example, Promenade Peak 2+ study if they have, or 2-bedder. Because for Promenade Peak, they have to load the premium up to 60 over stories. So per square foot wise, it can go very close to this one. And for Upperhouse, I like this one because, as I mentioned, it's very suitable for own stay. And at this size at 764 square feet, right, I think I want to compare it with the other 2-bedders in Orchard as well, instead of the 2+ study, because the 2+ study here are really very big. So I just want to come back to show you, to compare our 2+ study here with the 2-bedders in the vicinity. Okay, so this data over here, right, is actually the same data that we have for the 2-bedroom just now in terms of the transactions and the number of listings available for sale. Let's say even if we price it at 3,004, our quantum comes in at about 2.59. And this is still below the average of 3.3 million, which is already done in this area for 2 bedrooms. I feel that this is something very attractive. If let's say we go back to compare this layout with the rest of the 2-bedroom layouts we saw just now, okay, not the 2+ study. If I bring the Upperhouse 2+ study layout here, right, I think can fight with all this. And furthermore, it's cheaper. So for this project, actually this 2 plus study layout in Upperhouse is one of our top few choices to buy for Upperhouse itself lah.
Let's dive into our 3-bedder right now. So for our 3-bedder, we have this privacy. The walkway is not very long lah. We also have kitchen, yard area, have windows over here, and the toilets as well. All also have windows, so better ventilation. And then very typical bedroom size. All the bedroom face at the same side. So I mean sometimes we will see one of the bedroom actually facing the other side. And the bedroom will be very dark.
Same thing for this project, right? They will be providing the visual screens over at the balcony and at the kitchen area lah. So I can continue to
Don't
wear my shirt when I'm in the kitchen. Okay, and to be honest, right, this layout that we see here, right, this is quite a common layout if you compare it with the other areas lah. And I think key thing about here is that whether does this layout work in this area or not. I feel that's the most important thing that we have to analyze. So when we look at the other 3 bedrooms in this area, some are actually really generous in size. So for example, like in Boulevard 88, your sizes are about 1,007, and then in 19 Nassim, your sizes can go up to 1,475. But because of these kind of sizes, right, naturally the price quantum of these units will be higher. And on the smaller end, you have something like Cascaden Reserve to compare, 1163 square feet. But honestly, for this layout, right, it's quite tricky to use because this kitchen layout over here, right, might not work for everyone. It's open concept, and then for some families, right, it's actually not so ideal. For bedroom 3 over here, this one is inward facing, so it tends to be very dark with limited natural light coming in. When I look at this layout, right, it looks like a 2-bedroom plus study, and then I got one more store here. So I just package it with a private lift lah. Size is very important. So for example, this size is 1163, you know, but I think most important that we have learned so far is that the usability is actually very crucial as well. In this aspect, right, Cascaden Reserve 3 bedrooms may actually fall short in this regard lah. For 3-bedroom units, right, among this vicinity here, the only true competitor I feel will be for 3 Cascaden. The size is just nice, below 1,004 square feet, 1,270 square feet. In fact, when I come in, you know, you even have a junior master, and then I can see from the floor plan, even though it's not a landscape living dining, but the living dining here actually looks quite sizable. You still get a landscape layout but in the balcony. Ultimately, this one is still unblocked views ma. Even for the kitchen, you get an enclosed kitchen with a sizable utility cum helpers room. The master bedroom comes with a walk-in wardrobe. The only thing is that for these 2 layouts, right, from what I saw, there's only 6 of them. So there's very little competition in this kind of size category. In that regard, right, I feel that this Upperhouse layout, right, stands out even more because of its efficient layout. Okay, because why? Anything below 1,004 square feet, in terms of the 3 bedrooms, right, we only have these 2 ma. And this one, the layout, not so suitable for own stay. This one, we only have 6 units. This so-called boring layout, which is boring in other place, right, in here, it's not boring. It's actually something that this area don't really have. Why? Because let's say if you are getting for a unit that is 1,400 square feet and above, right, I multiply by 3,000 PSF, right, the quantum is already 4.2 million. Honestly, right, 4.2 million, this is a quantum that I really don't want to touch in this area, because you give me 4 million, might as well I go and buy 4 bedroom elsewhere, right? Maybe not in Orchard, but at least close to Orchard, 4 bedrooms I still can get left. So for this Upperhouse 3 bedroom layout, right, honestly, as I mentioned, it's really very boring, but I feel that the size and the quantum of this unit will do very well in this area. The layout is super efficient. Okay, we have seen some other projects. The walkway here is very long, but here you get privacy, but it's still minimal. Overall, the layout is super usable and effective. This unit, this size, we have limited units, really gives families a chance to stay in a new house in this part of Orchard. And for me, right, besides the 2 plus study, this is my star layout for this project, because as we mentioned, it is something that we don't really see in this area that you can get for this price, and yet it's efficient.
Okay, so based on this chart here, we can see in this area, even though the price are high, people still buy the high floor first. And they are also willing to spend average around 4.7 to 7 million for a 3-bedder. Why I say so? Because these are the 3-bedders layout, which is very hard to actually squeeze one more bedroom out also.
Can you imagine like people spend 5 million, 6 million for a 3-bedroom, right? And then sometimes we think, hey, can we actually create one more bedroom out of it to make a 4-bedroom, win-win, right? But let's say when we see the layouts, for example, Boulevard 88, this one is 1,776 square feet. I see the layout, I don't know how to squeeze one more bedroom.
Unless you want to change the utility in the bedroom.
Yeah, or I sleep in the balcony.
Okay.
Then I got one more bedroom come out. Even for Park Nova, right, I can really squeeze one more bedroom out lah, but it really will look nice lah. And anyway, this one, the Park Nova price is how much?
Almost 11
11 million
million.
Wow, 11 million, 4 bedroom, okay lah, but
I like the size but
yeah. But wow, this is the price that people actually pay for a 3 bedroom. So
yeah.
if you buy a 3 bedroom, you know your neighbors are actually this kind of, they enter this kind of price quantum. Based on this chart that we can see here, okay, just now we saw this nice layout at 3 Cascaden, only have 6 sales caveat lah. And the percentage rental here is already 66%. So you can see from this project, actually the 1 bedroom and the 3 bedroom mostly is still people don't stay one. But one thing I noticed here, right, for the 3 bedrooms, firstly the rental is at least 10,000 and above. And secondly, right, if you see the rent per square foot, because usually for bigger unit, the per square foot rental is lower But I can see here, right, the rent PSF is actually still quite high. Around, if you can get around $8 plus close to $9 for 3 bedrooms, is still considered very impressive and very high. The reason why the yield is so low, right, is because the purchase price is high. But the rental, honestly, is very good here. Hey Sherry, you never asked me how I get this percentage.
Yeah, how we get the percentage?
Okay, so I call this the J ratio. Because sometimes when we see the rentals, right, like for example, some projects just TOP 1 year, like 19 Nassim or Cascaden Reserve, you can just see the 1 year rental and gauge the percentage rental there. But for some projects, sometimes the tenant sign a 1 year lease, sometimes tenant sign 2 year lease. So for me, how I will gauge the rental, right, is let's say for example, I will track the rental transactions for 2 years. So out of these 2 years, there can be people that take 1 year and 2 year, correct? So 1 year one, I take full, so I take 50%.
Okay.
Then the 2 years one, right, I'm not very sure. So out of these 2 years, I take 20%.
Okay.
So total, that's why I count only 70%. So this one is called the J's ratio. Yeah, so you can see here, let's say for example, 5 rental done in 2 years, I'll just take 70% of these 5. Which in this case will be 4. Yeah, later on, if you have the time, you go through the slides. I got apply this ratio for the other bedroom types as well. It's just that through this presentation, we actually just skim through. When it comes to the 3 bedroom, right, let's just be honest, you're buying a leasehold here. Moreover, you're buying over in the Orchard area where there's a lot of freehold. In my opinion, I really feel that the PSF is not as crucial as compared to the total price you are paying here. Because at least for this price point, right, I can still be confident to say that, hey, I buy 3.4 million, right, I still can sell away. Later when we see what is the average transactor price here, right, is actually way above 3.4 million. So if I can enter at this price, right, I still will have the confidence to see that, hey, I still can sell it next time. So for this layout, right, also another thing, if we compare with the River Valley projects, okay, just now we said that the 2+ study here, the price of the 2+ study here can potentially be very close to the price of the high floor Promenade Peak 2+ study because it's a 60 over stories. It might be the same story here for the 3 bedrooms because of the size and the quantum, and it can be a very similar price to Robertson Opus also. So you have to do your own due diligence when you are doing comparison in their specific locality as well. So for Orchard now, we have to compare with Orchard. And then let's say we are comparing with Great World City side, you have to compare with Great World City side. If you are comparing with Robertson Quay, you have to do the comparison with Robertson Quay. If you don't know how to start to compare, right, then you just contact us, then we can help you to analyze each different project together.
So within the 600 meter, the 3-bedder, the average price is 4.48 million. That's why we were saying that we prefer to stick to something about 4 million for safety. However, the number of the units for sale is actually not much here.
Sorry to interrupt. And the 4.48 million, right, consists of O1 and new one also. That's why, right, when just now we saw the price of about 3.4 million, effectively we have a savings of about $1 million. And that is actually the margin of safety that we can have when we are entering into a 3 bedrooms here.
However, the number of the units here for sale is actually not so much. A lot of those are balanced from the developer. For example, the 3 Orchard by the Park from 10.45 million. Boulevard 88, we also have 2+ study as a 3-bedder here, same as the Park Nova. So we minus all these away, right, we get about 79 listings here.
That's like almost half gone already. So to round up the signature collection for the 1 bedroom to the 3+ study, we'll just go through very quickly what are the finishings and fittings that they will have. So for the 1 bedroom to 1+ study signature collection, all the kitchen appliances, the oven, the cooking hob and hood, and possibly the fridge as well, they will be provided by Vizu, which is from Switzerland brand. For the toilets, and the tabs and all this, right? They will be using Lawfern and Jessie. So these are the tab designs that we get to see for the signature collection. And these are the sanitary fittings that we will get from Lawfern in the units as well. And for the wardrobes, right, this is actually from the brand Kakaro. This is the actual design that you will get to see in the show flags. That will be provided for the master bedrooms for all the layouts here. It honestly looks very beautiful. Why? Because by right it's closed like that. Then when you open up, right, it will just slide open very nicely and cleanly. There's 听不到那个声音的, you cannot hear the sound when you open up the hinge lah. Only thing I don't really like so much is the common bedroom's wardrobe. Because right, it's a sliding door ma. You can't see it here lah, okay, but anyway it's a sliding door. So the sliding door, right, is good material, so it's very heavy. When you open, you actually have to push from the side of the door to open the door. So the problem is not the opening of the door. The problem is close the door. Because got no handle.
Yeah.
So you have to cap the sliding drawer from the side. And the drawer very heavy. So you imagine after you do makeup everything, you wear your clothes ready, right? Then you open the thing, you want to go out, you want to close the door, right? Then you do all your nails very nice, man. Then you have to pull the wardrobe from the side to go and close the thing, right? I tell you, you'll be very pek-cek one. So for this case, right, all your hubby's clothes, right, put in the common bedroom. Then for yourself, you put your clothes all in this bedroom. Better. So you can save yourself from all these unnecessary irritations from the day-to-day life. But what I can tell you is just come down to the show flat and take a look. And this master bedroom wardrobe is really very nice. Okay?
So let's dive into our 4-bedroom. One standout feature here is the living hall area. The ceiling height at this side here is actually 6.35 meters. That's already open up the space, which have this wow factor. Even in the dining hall area and the master room area, our ceiling height is higher than usual at 3.05 meters.
I will do my best to explain how do they so-called structure the 4-bedroom layouts at this Upperhouse Orchard, because now we see here the ceiling is very high like that, correct? But this one will be at so-called like the even floor or off floor. So for example, if this is on the off floor, then the even floor, right, this part will be closed up. Then they will open up the high ceiling over at this side instead. It's a bit confusing. Let me try to explain it. So just now we saw, right, for this layout, the living is here, and then straight away the actually here's the dining. The dining is here, straight away it leads out to the living at this side. So how it looks like over here, right? Okay, let's look at this diagram. Just now we saw when we step in and we come in, the sofa that they put is actually here, and then the dining is here. So the dining will have this very high ceiling, okay, together with the balcony. Okay, but at a different level, one floor below, right, is different. So when you come inside the house, right, instead of this part, you have the high ceiling. Now the high ceiling becomes this part. To show you a bit more, right, let me show you the floor plan. This is DP2 layout. Just now the picture that we show you here, we come in here, then basically the ceiling will be high at here, and then this part there won't be anything already, it's just a wall. Let's say we're talking about the other level, right? When I come in, this part don't have, it's a wall. So if I take it in this side, this part don't have already. Instead, they will open up the living over to this side instead.
So this is for the even floor level. All the bedroom actually come with the ensuite bath. You can see here we have all the ensuite bath. We also have this powder room with granite finishing just right beside the private lift lobby. For the junior master itself, we have this balcony area too. For car park lots at B2 and B3, right, you actually have direct access, so the parking is just for you. One thing to take note here about these private car park lots is a part of the strata area for this unit itself. But as we mentioned earlier that we have the ceiling height of 6.35 meters, the extra height is actually not considered as a strata space. So essentially, right, they actually count the car park size as a part of the floor area, but they didn't count the size of the space here in the living room, which is much bigger than the car park lot. So they actually give you more than they take.
Wow, actually quite worth it because this is harmonized project already, So to be honest, I think developers don't really want to give you like high ceilings because last time they are not charged for the ceilings, but now they actually charge to actually build this ceiling space here for you. But in this case, actually this ceiling space is actually not considered part of the strata area for this unit. So I feel that is something, a nice touch that we have. And this add up to everything that we have spoken up about just now. So even though they so-called take this private car park lot as part of the strata space, right, at least they give you more airspace than the so-called use from the private car park lot, and at least the private car park lot is yours lah. So even let's say you don't have car or anything, maybe you, for fun, you just put your bicycle there lor. Anyway, it's yours ma.
So next, let's go to the odd floor layout.
This will be the show flat layout, and then this layout will be at odd floor. So the other layout we saw actually is the same stack, okay? But just now this layout over here is actually on the even floor, and this one will actually be on the odd floor, and this is actually the show flat layout. Main difference, like we mentioned just now, is really the position of the living room. So instead of having the living room this side, we have it over here, and this living room actually comes with double volume ceiling height at 6+ meters lah. Honestly, I don't really like the show flat design because right here should be the dining area and here should be the living room. Because when you step beside the show flat, this area is actually quite far from the kitchen or even a dry kitchen itself lah. Okay, but coming back to the layout, right, Sherry, which one do you actually prefer?
I actually prefer this layout here.
Oh, why?
Yeah, because I feel that this area here as a living area is like more privacy lah. And then of course, like when I host, I like my friends to stay around the dining and kitchen area. Then I feel that the living space should be like back forward, and then to have the living area over here, so like you have your own privacy also. How about you?
I have two school of thought. I asked other friends because we went to the show flat that day. I asked other friends, hey, actually, which layout you prefer? Then what they tell me is, hey, Jay, when I step inside this layout, I see the floor plan. Actually, when I come in, I step in here, right, I will see this thing like that, like it's one piece, one long piece ma. So actually this living room will seem bigger. Okay, so that is their point of view. But for me, right, actually the show flat experience is very important lah. So for this show flat itself, when we step in like that from the lift lobby, then we have to turn right, then we see this thing ma. Correct. So I'm a very visual person. I don't like that. I like when I step in, I see already. So for me, same like you, right? But our reasons may be slightly different lah. For me, anyway, it's a private lift lobby ma, so not everybody can come in. So but once I come into the house, right, when I step in here, I really want to see everything. That means I step in here, I see the dining, I also see the living with the high ceiling. Then to me, that is the better impression. But this is just talking on paper lah. How it will really feel like in future, we really have to see when it's built lor. Okay, so just to round up this collection, for the 4 bedrooms is actually considered under the Bespoke Collection. Flooring for the living room, dining room, and the private lift lobby is called the Silverite marble from Turkey over here. At the bottom right, over here, the kitchen carpentry here is from Ernesto Meda. So this is something quite similar that you will see in Robertson Opus as well. From the dry kitchen, right, they call it the gourmet kitchen bar. We have the full height glass cabinet here from Ernesto Media as well. And this countertop, right, for the island and then for the sink, I like the color a lot lah. It's a bit like reddish brown. When I looked it up over here, this color, right, the name is called Rosso Levanto Marble, and this is actually about 20 mm thick. And when it comes to the master bedroom, same thing like Robertson Opus, we saw that they used the Rimadescio sliding glass for the kitchen. You don't get any tracks on the ground, which is very nice. But over here, they actually do it for the master bedroom itself. This will become like an enclosable walk-in wardrobe area, and I think it's quite nice because from outside you can actually see inside the wardrobe, and then with the lightings and all, they'll all be provided in the master wardrobe as well. For the kitchen finishings, we have the oven, steam oven, vacuum drawer, wine chiller, and dishwasher. They're all from Bizu. Okay, and then for the sanitary fittings, Jessie is the same brand, just that the design for the 4 bedrooms is slightly different.
Come to the 4 bedrooms competitor, there isn't many because most of the layouts there are above 2002 square feet. So you can see all our layouts here are actually quite huge. Now for the Cascadian Reserved, do you know that this particular layout is actually combined with 2 units?
Yes, actually this is a merger, right, between the 3 bedrooms and the 2 bedrooms. So some floors is 4 bedrooms like this, some floor is still the same as 3 bedroom and 2 bedroom. When they sell this whole thing, right, if I'm not wrong, this one is considered as 2 units because have 2 strata title. So means, right, if you buy this house, right, it's considered 2 units. So if you have no property, right, you need to pay ABSD for this unit.
But sell, who will do that?
Yeah, exactly. Sell. But actually, within the sell, right, there's one reason because if you're a foreigner, right, you really foreigner, you buy 1 or 2 unit, got difference, the tax, the percentage, you still pay 60%.
Yeah, same lah.
No difference. So That's why to the foreigners, right, very high chance is no difference one. And when they like it, right, they buy for own stay. That's all lor.
I feel the reason why they actually do this, right, because we actually have a strong demand in 4-bedder in town area also lah.
Especially those new ones. So even for this project, actually don't have 4 bedrooms one. They make 4 bedrooms come out just for them, and actually it sells well lah. If you look at the comparison here, right, it only takes about 1 year to clear off all the 4 bedrooms. And then just now we already saw once Cascader Reserve, they actually so-called custom made the 4 bedroom out of the 3 bedroom and 2 bedroom joined together to make just for them. So this clearly shows that there's strong demand for the larger units in this area.
So honestly, right, there isn't much choices comes to big houses in this area. The landed properties here nearby, it nearly costs us about 9 million.
Okay, because we have the duplex unit here, right, when I walk around Upperhouse Orchard, right, there is another project that have duplex unit just opposite. Okay, so I took a picture of the facade when I was outside. So this one is actually 3 Orchard by the park, and this one is 3 Cascader. So from here you can see actually they have double volume units. When we take a look at the floor plan, right, come out from the private lift lobby, this area is part of the unit. It's a balcony. And then when we step in here, they have a double volume ceiling here. How it looks like in terms of the pictures, right? Just now I show you. So over here when we step out, we see the balcony. It's actually very nice. It's double volume. But one thing here is that it faces the road and it faces this project here. But for Upperhouse, the facing actually can be much nicer and maybe quieter as well because it's not facing the road. Secondly, they also have a double volume ceiling here. Okay. So this one, I wanted to ask Sherry guess how much, but I already write the price here. Okay, it's starting from 10 million. And it's a 3 bedroom. 3 bedroom.
Ooh, okay.
And despite the couple of units that they have, I already sell finished, left one money. So if you ask me whether this kind can sell or not, I think can. It's just a matter of time, and there will be buyers there because got buyer, no supply. At this price point, and especially for 4 bedrooms. Since we're on the topic about supply and demand, right? This size coming in at 2056 square feet at this price,
7.19 million.
7.19 million, a bit sell. But then when we see Boulevard at 88, already 10 million, and then Cascader Reserve also 7 million. And then 7 million done, actually also the supply very tight. As we mentioned, I think this unit still can sell, but to be honest, it's not a Singapore market. It's mainly catered to the foreigners.
So here is the comparison. You can see that we actually transacted at 9.22 million already. It's doable lah. Okay, and basically like earlier Jay mentioned that we are also looking about 7.19 million here.
Actually before that, when we come to 1 bedroom to 3 bedroom, right, the per square foot we put a bit lower at 3,004. But I feel if I'm the developer, I may want to mark up higher around 3,008. Even I mark up already, right, the quantum is still quite low. Yeah, and I feel that the layout is quite efficient because after all, we never thought about this is a harmonized project. Now I want to say this is a harmonized project, so I feel that for a smaller size, the layout is still very efficient.
Yes.
Okay. Lastly, right, I always have this question in my mind, like, hey, if I'm a foreigner, then I need to buy this kind of house, right? Hey, then might as well I just rent.
True.
Right, I might as well just rent. I don't need to pay a 60%. So what is the thinking that goes behind their mind, right? My own perception, I feel today, right, if you want to stay near town, and when we call town, right, we call Esplanade, we call Marina Bay, maybe Orchard, that area. Honestly, the area got landed. We really go and think about it, right? Whether got landed or not, right? Actually, I go and do the research. So this is a map, okay? And then I put a pin near to River Valley area. This is a 2 to 3 kilometer radius within the central area. So let's say if you want to stay near Ion Orchard, you want to stay near Marina Bay, okay, or even you want to stay near Clarke Quay, right? Actually, you can see within that area, right, the number of landed properties there is super little. Yeah, and the landed properties are here in red. So even though if have, just now we saw, this one is GCB. And then the landed here are not going to be cheap. Yeah, so we can see here the past transactions done. Even around here, if you want to buy a landed near town, it's already 8.52 million already. The supply is so low until the number of units for sale, right, in terms of the price, right, in the same area, the asking is 20 million. That means I sold 8.5 million. The balance unit, owner don't want to sell. Then if got unit, owner say, okay, I sell 20 million. So that's why, let's say even if I'm a foreigner, if I'm looking for landed, even though I cannot buy landed, I will still want to compare. And there's not much comparison if I really want to stay near to town area like Suntec City, Marina Bay, Orchard. Honestly, there's not a lot. So that is my thinking of why the 4 bedrooms still can move in that area.
So we have come to the end of this sharing session. Do give us a like and share and stay tuned to our next video. See you guys. Bye.
Bye.